On a Frankie Collins game-winning layup, Arizona State escapes DFA with a 71-69 victory over UMass Lowell. Nick Borgia of Devil's Digest joined alongside publisher Hode Urbino, and Hode, of course, for our first time this season, seeing this team in person, the game has to come down to the wire in the manner that it did. Your initial takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny, Nick, because we all saw, obviously, from afar, the loss to Mississippi State, where the Sun Devils were not in the game at all. And they come last Saturday, and because that was the same day as the game at UCLA, we weren't there to see it in person, like you said. But it looks like ASU did show some signs of life against Texas Southern. So you thought that maybe this really shook off that horrible performance in Chicago against Mississippi State. But here they come against UMass Lowell. And they basically were out of the game, I would say, for a long stretch. First half, second half, double-digit leads were taking place by the visitors for long stretches, throughout the game. But for the 41st time under Bobby Hurley in his Tempe tenure, ASU does engineer a second half comeback. And like you said, it really was a dramatic one. So good to see that this team showing character. There's so much been talked about having 10 newcomers. How's the chemistry going to work out? How everybody's going to come together? We did see some troubling signs, I thought, in that department in the loss to Mississippi State. And honestly, for long stretches tonight against UMass Lowell, those growing pains, learning curve of so many new faces on the same team definitely showed.
So if we start with the offense, obviously Frankie Collins came up clutch, made the big-time plays that mattered down the stretch. But the big returning three, Alonzo Gaffney, Jemiah Neal, Frankie Collins, had relatively quiet nights, but when you look at Jose Perez, a big newcomer for ASU, he really led the charge tonight with 20 points.
Yeah, Jose Perez is a guy that, as we all know, was brought in just because of the uncertainty with Adam Miller, the LSU transfer, whether he will or not get a waiver of immediate eligibility from the NCAA. As we speak right now, there has no been official decision been rendered so far. In my opinion, it does not look good. So ASU was very smart to be proactive and bring a guy like Jose Perez, a guy who on the one hand is 25 years old, a lot have been there, done that. On the other hand, did not play for the last 2 years, having his own immediate eligibility issues with NCAA. And he admitted that he did have a lot of rust to knock off. He said some people were coming at him at Twitter, reminding him of that. But I think Jose Perez shut up a lot of mouths today, scored 20 points. And really, when you think about it just from a practical standpoint, a lot of those points he was just backing down his way into the lane and scoring. And look, ultimately, he's a guy that's 25 years old that I would say on average, he's playing against guys that are 5 years younger than him. And there's probably some guys that are even 6, 7 years younger than him. So when it comes to the physical maturity and more importantly, the basketball IQ level of somebody that's been in the game for so long, that's something that we felt is going to show itself on some nights. And tonight really was a great example. 20 points, like I said, 7 and 9 from the field. I think he made the first 5 or 6 shots. And anytime ASU needed a go-to guy, until guys like Gaffney and like Jemiah Neal and like Kamari Lands finally came around in the second half, Jose Perez was absolutely carrying this team. And I think I mentioned in the offseason, Nick, that he's definitely going to be the X factor because, again, now that it's almost a done deal that Adam Miller is not going to be part of this team, Jose Perez definitely has to fill that void. And I wouldn't be surprised if later on in the year we see more games like we saw tonight where Jose Perez just really takes this offense on his shoulders until his teammates can really complement him. That happened tonight.
And when we look at this ASU defense, that was the unit that really kept this team in the game. Bobby Hurley choosing to deploy that full court press pretty early in the second half, forcing a lot of turnovers from the Riverhawks. What did you see on the defensive front tonight, Hode?
Well, let's talk about really the shortcoming of the defense, and as you saw, probably like I did, a lot of points in the paint for the visitors. Sean Phillips and the rest of the interior players were just not able to stop the visitors from really having their way inside the paint, and when they were collapsing on them, not that UMass Lowell made a tons of threes, but it looks like there were some backmaker threes over there when you saw the offense for them apparently stall, and they're just knocking one from long range. So Bobby Hurley said that what he did is that he actually took out Sean Phillips for long stretches, put in Kamari Lands, who actually did start on the bench, which was somewhat of a surprise. But he thought that if he's really not getting anything in the paint in terms of defense, and really offense for that matter, might also put Kamari Lands and Jose Perez on the floor at the same time. And I think when that took place, especially in the second half, that really helped ASU quite a bit. You look at the stat sheet, and it's kind of weird because, yes, ASU squeaked out a win. Yes, they played good defense, but UMass Lowell, which surprisingly, when I looked at the stat sheet, were actually scoring 52% from the field. But ASU forced 16 turnovers in the second half, 21 for the entire game. For the entire game, scored 27 points over those turnovers. So to your point, Nick, absolutely it was defense, maybe more via the turnovers rather than just playing straight up defense. But nonetheless, as we saw last year, the defense absolutely fuels this offense. If we go back to the offense for a second, ASU finished the game making their 7 straight field goals. There was a stretch really deep in the game where they were on a 13-2 run in less than a minute. And again, a lot of that was generated by turnovers. And I'll be remiss if I don't mention Frankie Collins, whose 8 steals is up there with a lot of Sun Devil greats like Stephen Smith, and even eclipsing some guys like James Harden from years past. So Frankie Collins definitely showed his leadership, and definitely showed that even when things weren't going all that great on offense, he did not let that affect his defense. And as you mentioned, just that the press defense worked really, really well, and I think that's one aspect that ASU can take really a lot of confidence on how well that was executed. The visitors played a great second half for the most part, but ASU absolutely really took them out of their game, and they were not able to do anything, much of nothing, I should say, late in the game, and that's all thanks to the ASU defense. Something that we really have seen in years past with Bobby Hurley. I think that's one aspect of the team that has gotten better year after year. Now you wonder with 10 newcomers, can they sustain that level? I think tonight may not be the end-all be-all, but maybe a sign that the potential is definitely there for ASU in that department.
So ASU improves to 2-1 on the season so far, and in the 3 games that we've seen each end of the spectrum. So with that in mind, ASU going to get that non-conference travel starting pretty soon. How do you see this team and what they need to work on in the next coming weeks?
Yeah, I mean, they have a tournament in Las Vegas where they're going to play BYU in the first game, and I think that's another good litmus test, just like Mississippi State was last week in Chicago. We know that Mississippi State was a game that is a very, very forgetful one for Arizona State. Sure, they haven't played great basketball since that loss, even though they won 2 games in a row. But I think they have a lot of good film to not only know what they need to work on for BYU, but also know that, okay, maybe there's some aspects over here, like the full court press defense, for example, that they can really take and build upon for future games. So I'm really curious to see how they do in that tournament in Las Vegas. If I'm not mistaken, there's a chance that they might meet DJ Horn and NC State in the second game. So that's going to be kind of peculiar if that does come to fruition. I think Bobby Hurley, and I don't know if he was trying to send a subliminal message over here, he said that the team last year really hit their stride when they went to Brooklyn and had a great tournament, beating VCU and then blowing Michigan right out of the water. And maybe Bobby Hurley in the back of his mind thinking that this Las Vegas tournament could be what the Brooklyn tournament was last year for the team, and just really creating a launching pad for, just like last year, a team with a lot of new faces, still trying to find the rhythm, still trying to learn to play with each other. But I think that slowly but surely that this team really can get better. But no matter how many new faces are on the team and what those faces' names are, I think ultimately, much like last year, and tonight was a perfect example, this ASU defense is really going to dictate the fortunes of this Arizona State team, because I don't think this is a team that can really survive a shootout on a nightly basis. And their defense tonight, even though some of the stats on the box score may look a little suspicious, but the way they ended the game with that full court press with 16 turnovers in the second half, I think is something that is definitely a ray of light, definitely something positive for the Sun Devils to build on.
Well, thank you for your insight, Hode. We've reached that sweet point in the year where we've got ASU basketball and ASU football going on at the same time. So to follow it all, keep it locked in at DevilsDigest.com and drop a follow at DevilsDigest on Twitter. That's Hode Reno. My name is Nick Borgia. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.